If you guys want the Dallas Cowboys to beat the Washington no-names this week, then like the video. This worked last week against the New Orleans Saints, and it's not broken. Why try to fix it? And I'm not saying if you don't like the video that the Dallas Cowboys will end up losing, but if they do somehow, I think you'll be feeling pretty bad about yourself. So before we break down this week's preview, take advantage of the intro video, like the video right now. Tom Downey of the Cowboys Report here to break down the pivotal Week 14 matchup as the Dallas Cowboys hit the road again to take on the Washington football team. Dallas, this line is opened, I believe, at 4.5. It is now up to 5 as the Cowboys are a fairly decently sized favorite going on the road against a suddenly hot Washington football team with Dallas in position to truly command the NFC East in the event that they win this game. Now, Dallas has not played that well in November. Hopefully that does not continue truly through much of December with Week 13 being the outlier there. Loss against Denver, seemed to get back right against the Falcons, then lost against the Chiefs, lost in overtime to the refs and the Raiders, and then beat the Saints in Week 13 behind the strength of their defense. Washington, meanwhile, I think in the end is probably around a 500 football team, which might get them into the playoffs this year. Loss against Chargers, not as close as the game indicates, beats the Giants, lose to the Bills, beat the Falcons in Week 4, and then a tale of two different four-game swings here. Week 5, they lose against the Saints, lose the Chiefs in Week 6, lose at the Packers and Broncos. Those were fairly tough games. The Saints still had Winston. Since then, they've gotten hot in the easier portion of their schedule. They upset the Bucs in a stunner, one of the bad games by a good Tampa team. They beat the Panthers fairly narrowly on the road, and then two straight, not a typo, 17-5 wins over Seattle and at Las Vegas in a game that the Raiders, they kind of blew in that one. My mindset is this right now for the Dallas Cowboys. It's time to go win the NFC East. As we'll break down in a little bit, the Cowboys are moving closer and closer to winning that division, a division that they should win. Barring a collapse, Dallas is going to win the NFC East. Not about what Washington or Philly does. If Dallas blows this, it's because they blew it, and they've got no one to blame but themselves for what would be, I believe, a fireable offense collapse. So who you got in this one? C for the Cowboys, W for Washington. I am anticipating a lot of C's in the comment section. I'm going to make this the pinned comment on today's video. So if the ad break comes on YouTube, take advantage while it's playing. Head down and type your C's for the Cowboys. Or if you want to be a hater, type in W for Washington. Some injury news and notes I want to get to here. First up, Randy Gregory is set to be designated to return from injured reserve at some point this week, maybe even at some point Monday or Tuesday for the Dallas Cowboys. He's been battling a calf injury. The Cowboys and Stephen Jones are publicly saying, hey, he's going to be good to go. He's going to be out there. That's our plan for him to play against Washington. We will see how the week of practice materializes, but Gregory has a real chance of playing this week, and I do think we will see Neville Gallimore out there for the Dallas Cowboys as well. He has not played at all this year due to that rather painful elbow injury he suffered. Cowboys took a slow approach there. Initial timeline was 6 to 8 weeks. We are at this point basically double that timeline, but they wanted to be careful. That elbow injury, you kind of need it playing interior defensive line, so he should be back very soon. The Cowboys would say yes to this question. At least that's their hope. But what do you guys think? Will both Randy Gregory and Neville Gallimore play this week for Dallas? 2 for yes, they both will be out there. 1 for no, only 1 or maybe 0 will be out there for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, the defensive line depth chart in the event that they get both Gallimore and Gregory back could look like this. There will be plenty of rotation, make no mistake, but this is more of the healthy unit the Cowboys have been waiting for. DeMarcus Lawrence, Osa Odigizua, Neville Gallimore, Randy Gregory, and when you want to bring 5 in Micah Parsons, that's a really good pass rush group if the interior guys can get a little bit more production, but you can put Parsons and Lawrence and Gregory standing up there, and they've done that this year. So including Gregory and Gallimore on IR with their own injuries, 3 more players I want to mention. Maurice Kennedy is still on IR with a concussion. No update on him. I would not be optimistic about Blake Jarwin coming back anytime soon. I think that hip injury is fairly bad. And we will see about Donovan Wilson and his arm/shoulder injury. He's still got some time on IR before he can even be activated. So hopefully Wilson soonish, but I'm not feeling great about Blake Jarwin. At this point, I don't see Josh Ball coming back either. Now, if you want to bet on the Cowboys, do it with our sportsbook partner, BetUS. Head over to chatsports.com/bet and use the promo code that you guys see on screen. That is Cowboys125. It'll get you a 125% deposit bonus. Maybe put $5 down on Dallas winning the NFC East. The odds are minus 750 right now, which is the lowest they've been in a little while, as Washington is making some semblance of a run, I think, to maybe the playoffs along with Philadelphia. But this is still Dallas's division to lose. And make no mistake, if the Cowboys do not win the division, they have a 2-game lead right now over Washington, it will be because they lost it, not because Washington or Philly went out and earned it. I still feel good about Dallas winning this division, and at minimum, I mean, they should still be a wild card team because I think 9 wins might legitimately be enough to get you in the wild card, but that's not what we want, right? We want Dallas to win the division and push for a seed above the number 4 spot. I don't really want to play the Rams, even at home, in the 4-5 matchup. I'd love to find a way to get to the 3 seed, the 2 seed. What makes things good for Dallas is the way this schedule starts to shape up. People are hyping up Washington as an NFC East contender because they play the NFC East. So does Dallas. The Cowboys, if they're playing something in Week 18, should be favored in 4 of their final 5 games. They are on the road against Washington. They will be against the Giants. They will be against Washington. I'm not so sure about Arizona. And then we'll see if they're playing for anything at Philadelphia. So Dallas should run away with this division. Otherwise, I'm not really sure how much of a true playoff contender in terms of making a run in the postseason they actually are. At the end of today's video, I'll have my score prediction, I should say, of the Cowboys against Washington. But I want you guys right now to head to the comments section and let me know what you think the final score will be. I do have a goal throughout this week, my friends. I want to double up the Washington Football Official YouTube channel. We are blowing them out. Poverty franchise, 115K subs against 59.2K. But I want to double them, so that way I can be the owner of the Washington franchise, frankly, just like Dak Prescott is. Because Prescott very much owns Washington, as he owns the entire NFC East in his time as the Dallas Cowboys starting quarterback. In 8 career games against Washington, Dak Prescott is 7-1, has completed 69.2% of his passes at a blistering 8.2 yards per attempt, 13 touchdowns, 1 interception. Oh, by the way, he also has 244 yards on the ground and 4 rushing touchdowns as well. Dak Prescott historically has owned the NFC East, and that needs to continue as they move forward. On a Washington side of the ball is quarterback Taylor HEINICKE. And I think at some level there's some Ryan Fitzpatrick in the game. HEINICKE has been pretty solid as of late. I don't think he's a franchise quarterback. I think he's an NFL quarterback, make no mistake about it. Completing just under 68% of his passes, over 2,800 yards. But he's a bit of a turnover guy, and there have been a lot of dropped opportunities for HEINICKE to have the foot to turn them over a little bit more. His QBR is just above average, a little bit less so as a passer. I'm not overly concerned about Taylor HEINICKE. Here's the way I describe him. I forget who said this. It was one of my Washington football fan friends. I know, it's what that sounds to say out loud. HEINICKE is kind of like Ryan Fitzpatrick. He scares you a little bit because he can do some crazy things that lead to big plays. But if he's your team's quarterback, he also kind of scares you because there's just some really bad moments mixed in there as well. So what do you guys think? Does the Washington football team quarterback Taylor HEINICKE scare you? Does he make you worried about stopping him? Y for yes, N for no. Get those votes in for me in the comments section. Couple more notes, game things to watch I wanted to preview here. I expect a lot of Antonio Gibson J.D. McKissick banged up. Logan Thomas now probably out for the year, unfortunately, for Washington. I think GIBSON will get a heavy workload against Dallas. I think in both the passing game and the running game, you need your linebackers, LVE, Keanu Neal, to not be as bad as they've been the past couple of games. I am curious as well as to what we get in terms of the Cowboys' depth chart and their rotation on the offensive line. Tyron Smith has not been peak Tyron since his injury. Terrence Steele is technically still on IR. The bright side here for Dallas and the downside for Washington, remember, folks, both Montez Sweat and Chase Young are on IR right now, leading to a bit of a backup rotation on the edges. What worries me, though, Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne, two very good defensive linemen. That left guard center combination, I don't have that much faith in at the current moment. Before we go, and before we get to my score prediction, this is a must-win game for Dallas because this is a game you're supposed to win. You are not supposed to lose, even on the road, to Washington. And Dallas is on the verge of clinching the division this month. I believe, if my math is correct, the magic number is 4 as it relates to Dallas and Washington. You can knock out 2 of those this week. That is how close the Cowboys are to locking up this division. And I think with Philadelphia in the mix as well, I believe if Washington loses their next 2 games, Dallas wins their next 2, I believe Dallas clinches the division. So go prove that you're a contender. Probably more likely over the next 3 weeks, but go prove it. Go prove that you own this division and that you are a legitimate team to be scared of in the postseason with a turnover-happy defense and an offense that can finally get back on track. So my score prediction, Cowboys win 30-20. You've got the extra bye, or the mini bye I'll call it. Mike McCarthy should be back as the head coach. The offense and defense is getting healthier. I need Dallas to win this game fairly comfortably, and then we'll all be feeling better about Dallas's playoff chances in terms of making a run this year in the NFL postseason.